I've noticed that no one has made a proper video guide about map porting yet, so here's a guide on how to port maps from GoldSource to Source using GMod as an example. I won't go into much detail in this video, so let's get straight to the point. Here's a list of necessary programs and a brief explanation of why you need them and what they do. Jackhammer, a ham editor for working with the GoldSource engine. We need it to view GoldSource map files and also to extract textures from their BSP files. Unified is the K-map decompiler. Currently the best decompiler for GoldSource maps. It's more accurate and has the ability to decompile maps in two different scenarios. WADmaker and Sprite Maker. Needed to extract textures, decals and sprites from WAD files. It is fast, convenient and extract decals without color issues. VMT Editor. A program used to create and edit materials for the source engine. It's more user-friendly than VTF edit tool and also more convenient. Also here's a list of optional but still recommended programs. White allows you to embed maps content into its BSP file. This simplifies life when you are uploading the map to the workshop. You might need Photoshop to correct some transparent textures if necessary. And if you really want to, you can use it to upscale texture quality via AI. If you want to port custom models, you might need Koba for decompiling and compiling them. Blender is also needed for porting custom models, but you will have to download the Blender Source tools add-on for it. Also for the models part, you might need Notepad++ for the better time editing the QC files. You can also use the built-in Windows editor for it, but this one is more convenient. Links for these programs will be in the description. Downloading a Hive with your map from any trusted site, for example GameBanana, and transfer its content to a separate folder. The archive will contain the map and all custom content except textures. Open the Unified SDK, specifically the application labeled GUI, and select the decompilation method. What's the difference, you might ask? Well, basically the tree-based method creates a single cube across the entire map area and cuts it into a lot of pieces. Simply put, it carves out the shape like a sculpture working from the inside of the sculpture. You might encounter straight and sometimes broken brushes. And face-to-brush method essentially strips the faces from the brushes, making the map look like a set of outlines. The geometry will have no volume, only a shell. Select the BSP file. .map and .wat files will appear in the same folder or another folder you have specified. But before opening the map in J.A.C.K, you need to configure it. Open Settings, then Game Profiles and create a new configuration. In the Game Data Files window, all .vdg files will be displayed. This is necessary so Hammer can see and work with all the tools and features of the games from which the .vdg file is taken. For example, if you are putting a map from CS 1.6, it is best to take all files and paths from the Counter-Strikes folder. Open directories and set the main game directory, usually the Valve folder, and just in case the folder where your maps will be saved. Examples of the paths are on the screen. In the Textures tab, select the necessary WAD files from the Valve folder, such as Decals, Half-Life, the HLT and others. Once you open the map, you will most likely encounter missing textures. Add the WAD file created by the compiler in the settings to solve this issue. If you have any problems with the created textures, you can extract them directly from the map using J.A.C.K plugin. Click Plugins, Half-Life, Extract Textures. Click the plus sign, select the map's BSP, then choose a name for the WAD file and where to save it. Do not forget to save the map in .vmf format for the future, so that it can be opened in the source hammer later. I should also say that if you are porting an original map from the Half-Life, such as Crossfire, you might not be able to extract texture from it and will have to search for and extract them manually from the WAD file. To create materials for source, you need to extract original textures from the WAD file by dropping it onto wadmaker.exe. The textures will be saved in a separate subfolder in the same location as the WAD file. Inside this folder, not only the map's textures are saved, but also tool textures such as sky and clips, which you can safely delete. Open VMT editor, go to Tools, convert to VTF, set the output path for the created textures to the maps folder in GoldSRC materials, click Add, select all textures and click Convert. Then open Tools again, convert to VMT, select the texture from the materials folder that you have just created and then click Batch. To port Skybox textures, you need to convert them to VTF with the clamp C and T flex enabled, or simply via the Skybox Chi parameter. Convert them to VMT and set their shader to unlit generic, and add these parameters. These textures must be placed in a separate folder named Skybox inside your map materials folder, and also in the same folder but in GMod materials, so Hammer can find them during compilation. The same is done for custom sounds. You need to create a sound folder in your map materials and in the sound folder of GoldSRC and drop it there. Open .vmf file of the map in Source Hammer, then click the File tab and click Convert WAD to VMT. After the process is complete, press Ctrl plus Tab to return to the project window. If you did everything correctly earlier, textures will appear on the map, and now, if you wish, you can run it in Hammer++. Just don't forget to save the map before exiting Hammer. Create a new file. Find the width and length of the map by selecting the corner brushes or by creating one large brush over the whole map. Create or transfer a platform with the same size. You can either measure the height, length and width of parts of the word structures and recreate copies of them in the new file, or you can copy and paste them there and then fix or modify them. I also recommend setting the texture scaling to 1 before doing anything. At the end of the geometry plotting, select the entire map and set the Luxa level to 16, as sometimes after copy pasting them from GoldSource map, this value may be set to a very small numbers or even to 0, and that might and will damage optimization or cause the map to refuse to compile. But also remember that you can change these values at any time if needed. It's not uncommon for some textures to have the wrong angle, size or position when running the map in Source Hammer. However, such problems are less common when running the map in J.A.C.K, so I recommend always keeping the map open in it and using it as a reference throughout the porting process. When things come to porting entity positions, use the same methods you were using when porting geometry. To change map Skybox to a custom one, you firstly need to get the Skybox name. Open map properties in J.A.C.K. There will be the environment map parameter with the Skybox name in it. Open the map properties in your source map and in the Skybox texture name panel, enter the texture name without the last 2 letters. Return back to VMT editor and select the textures we created earlier. Give them a material that they will be associated with by changing surface parameter. Do that for all textures except decals. To make a texture a decal, write down these parameters. You can also add alpha tests to smooth the corners of textures, and not only just for decals. Things get more complicated with creating water similar to the GoldSource one. The only way to create it that I could find is by using the light map generic shader with the following parameters. The easiest way to get the original water fog color is by opening the original map in the game you took it from. Going into the water, taking a screenshot and using the eyedropper tool in Paint, clicking with it on the fog and copying color values. A small pre-word before I tell you about model porting. I've never worked with models before, so I will only tell you what my good friend Dandy85 told me, which is how to create a static model with a simple collision. Therefore, there is likely an easier, more effective and more correct way to port models than this. Run Crowbar. In Setup Game, select GarageMod in the top parameter and set the path to the necessary tools. You can use mine as an example. Open the Decompile tab. Drag your model into the program window. In the output folder parameter, you can either leave it as it is and specify the path where the model will be saved, or select the subfolder parameter and specify the name for it. It will be created in the same location as the model with the decompilated model in it. Click Decompile. The created folder will contain texture files, model components and animations. Open Blender. Enable the source model tools by going to Edit, Preferences, Add-ons, Add-on Settings, Install from Disk, and selecting the downloaded archive. Go to File, Import, Source Engine and select the QC file we just obtained by decompiling the model. Click the little Scene button in the right menu, open Source Engine Export, choose the path where you want to export the model and set the export format to SMD. Export. Return to the decompiled model folder, copy the QC file from there and paste it into the folder where we exported the model to with Blender. Open the QC file. Only leave or write in these parameters in the file. In the model name parameter, enter the path to the model. The path starts from the models folder in the GarageMod, so you don't need to specify that. You can specify the folder name in the string beforehand and it will automatically appear along with the model upon compilation. The body group can be named as anything you like. I usually name it after the model name. In Studio parameter, select the reference model we exported using Blender. If there are several, you need to list them all separately. In the Surface Pro parameter, write the material that the model will be associated with. A list of materials can be found on Valve developer community site. In CD materials, write the path to the model's materials. If you don't have a models folder in the GarageMod materials, you will need to create it. You also need to create a separate folder with the name of the model you specified in model name. We will return to this folder later. In the sequence, you can just add .smd to the end of the file's path. If for some reason you are missing the ideal animation in the animations folder, you can use any SMD file related to this model. In the collision model, write the materials SMD file. Simple collision will be calculated from it. You can also skip this and just cover the model's outline with the Eclipse tools on the map. And if you want, you can specify the model's mass using the mass parameter. And the static prop parameter makes model static. Save the file and return to Crowbar. Go to the Compile tab, drag the saved QC file there and in the output select games models folder. In the very first option parameter, you should also have GoldSRC selected. Click compile. If everything is correct, the model will appear in the GoldSRC models folder in the directory you specified in the QC file. You can check if the model compiled correctly by opening Half-Life model viewer, which is located in the GoldSRC bin folder. To create texture for the model, return to VMT editor again. Convert to VTF, set the destination to our models folder in the GMod materials, add the textures from the folder where you initially decompiled the model via crowbar, convert them to VMT and open them. You need to change their shader to vertex lead generic and save. Open Half-Life model viewer again and press F5. If the textures appear, you did everything correctly. If not, you should check if the textures are named correctly. You should also know that transparent textures in Half-Life use blue color to know transparent areas, and they cannot be made transparent in source, so you'll most likely have to manually make these parts of the texture transparent using Photoshop. To embed content into your map, you need to open Wide. Click on the last button on the right of the panel, click Open and select your map's BSP. Now for the program to find the content used on the map, click the Scan button, specify the path to the GoldSRC folder and click Scan. When the program finishes searching for content, you can check if the program sees it in the BSP or not. Red color marks not only the content that the program doesn't see, but also content from the gates that can be embedded, such as tool textures and regular ones. Program doesn't see custom decals unlike overlays, so they will have to be added manually. I will show you how in a few seconds. Now you can click the Auto button and then Apply. You will be returned to the first window where you can see which content will be embedded in the map when you click Save. Such content will be marked with the yellow color. Click Save again and now the content is fully embedded in the BSP. If you need to embed some content manually, such as those custom decals, click Add, find the necessary texture, select the VTF and VMT file, then click Cancel to open a menu where you will enter the texture path manually. Just delete all text up to the slash before the word materials, click OK and save. And that's it, your map is ready. However, since this guide covered the technical part more than the porting process itself, I recommend watching the video by Tricklix Philip where he ports a map from 1.6 to CSGO, when it wasn't named Chronically Shitty 2 at the time. In that video he discusses map transfer problems in more detail and shows how he dealt with them. If you want to see map porting in real time, including model porting, you can check out Notcat's channel. I haven't watched his video much myself, but he clearly has more porting experience than I do. There are likely other tools somewhere that simplify working with the GoldSource content, or I might have done something incorrectly. Therefore, if other mappers who know significantly more about mapping and porting than I do somehow see this video, please share your experience in the comments, or you can chat with me on the Allium Discord server where I recite most of the time. But anyway, if you need some help, you can talk with me on the same Discord server, or if you're sitting on the Hammer Editor Development Group Discord server, you can pin me there. And thank you for watching this video. I'll see you again.